Hello Bibliophiles and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and hit the notification bell to stay tuned into my weekly uploads. So, the book that I will be talking about this week is Shatter the Sky by Rebecca Kim Wells. Now, I received this book in a LitJoy Crate subscription box, and I was really excited as the first box that I would be receiving was themed around dragons. As this video is not sponsored, even though I wish it was, that is all I will say about the LitJoy Crate. So, this video will be set up similar to how I structured the last video, which if you haven't watched, I split the book into 5 different sections and then kind of talked about each section individually so that I could rate the book out of a 100. The categories that I will be talking about are the universe, the setting, the characters, the plot, and the cover/presentation of the book. So, moving right on into that, starting out with the universe of this book, it is set in a clearly fantasy world as dragons exist. I was very excited about that, one of the reasons I was really looking forward to reading this book. Besides that, however, we don't really know much about the lore or history of the book despite the main character mentioning it quite a bit, which I kind of wish the author would have gone into a little bit more, as usually when I read a book I tend to enjoy learning about the background and history of maybe why some of these things are happening. Besides not really going into the lore, the author kind of keeps the main focus of the book set in 2 or 3 different towns, which leads us right into the setting of the book, which I think is very good of her because it prevents the reader from getting confused, trying to remember place names, like, oh, what happened here and what happened in this town, but instead keeping it very focused so we don't have to remember place names either, because I'm absolutely terrible at doing that myself. Moving on to the characters and plot. I did say that these 2 sections would be kind of kept separate, but in this video I would like to combine them, talk about them at the same time, just because I feel like it helps to give more of a description as to the characters' personalities. So we have Marin as the main character and Kaya as the love interest. So in the beginning of the book, as I said, starts out in, well, what is Marin and Kaya's hometown, which is at the top of a mountain, and you know, you can tell that from the descriptions that they're very in love with each other, and then all of a sudden there's this big feast, and then Kaya is taken away from Marin by the Orat. I will put this word on the screen and leave it up to you to determine how you would rather pronounce this word, but that is how I think this word is supposed to be pronounced. But the Orat are a group of mysterious women, I guess is the best way you could put it, and they came to the town looking for their new prophet. They chose Kaya for this position, and that left Marin heartbroken. After this, Marin makes it her goal that pretty much the whole plot of the book is Marin trying to get Kaya back, despite the fact that no one who has ever been taken by the Orat before has ever been seen again. And then that kind of leads me on to talking about Marin's personality. She doesn't really have much of a personality. Her 4 main personality traits, if I had to pick any, would be 1, trying to save Kaya, determination, I guess. 2, hatred for the Orat. 3, everyone finds her attractive, girls and guys alike. Is that a personality trait? Don't know, but let's count it because there's not much else. And 4, that's a spoiler, so I will have to recommend that you watch my video that will be up on Saturday, where I will talk about that in more depth. Then, after talking about Marin's personality, we move on to Kaya, who somehow has even less of a personality because she just plays the damsel in distress throughout the entire book. The only real thing that we get about Kaya is the beginning first 2 chapters, where you can tell that she and Marin are very in love, so she's a loving person, I guess. And then besides that, she's described by Marin as being brave, but we never see that for ourselves, so I'm not going to add that as a personality trait since I don't get to see Kaya's bravery in action. I was going to talk about 2 other characters, but that's also a spoiler, so again, check out my video that will be up on Saturday, which will be a more in-depth book review on Shatter the Sky, and I will go in-depth about that. So, moving on from the 2 characters that I could talk about without spoiling anything, I'll go more in-depth a little bit, no spoilers, into the plot. Marin's main goal is save Kaya, and then the underlying plot is, I guess, I need a dragon to save Kaya. I don't know if those 2 are considered 2 separate plot points, but let's consider them that because there's not much else that really happens in this book, which I'm sad to say. I did enjoy the book, don't get me wrong, but there's just a couple problems with it here and there. Moving on from the plot, we move on to the last aspect of the book which I want to talk about, which is the cover presentation of the book. So I would like to just kind of say that I was disappointed by the cover of this book. To be honest, if I was looking around a bookstore and saw this book on the shelf, I would not have been very likely to pick it up. I feel like the colors kind of blend in, the title doesn't really stand out that much, and I don't know. Marin is the main focus of the cover, and then if you look really closely you can see that there's a shadow of a dragon in the background, which I personally didn't notice the first time around. Kind of feel bad, but kind of shows that, I don't know, I thought dragons were supposed to be one of the main focuses of the book, but if you're just shoving a dragon in the background of, I don't know, didn't really catch my eye. But yes, so I believe that this cover could have done a lot better at presenting the book. Make the dragon bigger, then I would have picked up the book, but the fact that I did not see the dragon the first time I looked at this book when I pulled it out of the box wasn't all that great. I don't know. Maybe more bold colors. Like, I do really like the color scheme, like it's really pleasing to look at, but it doesn't catch your eye on, like, so if it was just sitting here like this, I would be more likely to pick up a book with a brighter cover rather than kind of the dulled tones that this book is being presented with. I feel like this book overall was pretty good for a debut author, for her debut book, and I don't know, I just feel like the concept was really good, but it could have been executed better. So after talking about everything in whole, I'm going to summarize the 5 categories that I had. The universe. As I said, I would have preferred to have a little bit more expansion on the lore and history of the universe that it was set in, so I'd probably give that about a 13. Then moving on to the settings, I really do, again, like how it was confined to those several different towns, so I wasn't getting confused with place names. Can't even remember the place names that were there, but still I liked how it's confined, so I'll give it a 15 for that. Then the characters kind of didn't do as well as I would have hoped, so I'd probably give the characters maybe a 9. Yeah, I'd say a 9 because they could have had a little bit more character development. I feel like Marin could have been more lovable of a character because I found that I wasn't really interested in what she was doing and more interested in the dragons. Maybe that's just my personal opinion because I read this book for the dragons in the first place, but I feel like she could have had more character development, maybe make her a little bit more lovable, and so that I'd actually feel some emotion while I was reading what she was going through. So moving on from the character aspect of my rating, I would give the plot about, I'm not really sure, maybe an 11, because for a YA fantasy book, it's very, very stereotypical. The girl who wants to, you know, go out and do her own thing, oh, she's got to go against her family's traditions, and then toss in that basic, really crappy attempt at a love triangle, and that's pretty much this book. I mean, it was good. Dragons, you know, dragons definitely improve it, which is why I'd give the plot an 11. Then finally the cover presentation, as you could probably tell, it wasn't going to get a very high rating from me, so I'd probably give it about an 8. I don't know. I mean, I like the purpley, pinky tones of the book, but I feel like if it would have had a couple bright colors, maybe have the font in white so that it would stand out more. I mean, I don't know, make the dragon bigger. I said that already, just make the dragon the entire cover. Really cool idea for the cover. It would have maybe had Marin standing in the center and then have the dragon like towering over her in the background. That could have been a cool idea. I think the book would, I don't know, attract more readers who like dragons. I'm sorry, I just really think that the dragon should have been emphasized on the cover. But overall, that adds up to a 56 out of 100, which I know sounds like a really low score, but I'm kind of harsh when I do reviews, so, you know, don't necessarily take anything bad that I say to heart, and just give this book a try for yourself, because you never know, you might really like it. But that is the end of my review of Shatter the Sky by Rebecca Kim Wells. Really hope you appreciate it. Don't forget, please just give this book a try, even though it did get kind of a relatively low rating from me. I would say give any book that gets above a 50 on this channel a try. So Rebecca Kim Wells is the author. You could probably find it at your local bookstore, and it was more of a recent publication and her debut book. Definitely always good to support authors. But if you have any questions or have a book that you'd like me to do a review on, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. And if you would like to be notified of when my next video goes up, which will be up on Saturday, and a more in-depth review on Shatter the Sky, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay tuned. And that is all for this video, and remember, your next adventure awaits. Bye!